Hello? Oh wait. People not in the Discord are gonna be confused. Wait, why? We're just doing... Sorry, I'm out of breath. I'm out of breath. Today's gonna be really fucked. Today's gonna be really botched, and I'm sorry. My camera's sitting on a water bottle. We just moved. I don't have headphones, so I can't actually hear any of the audio coming out of my computer. Like, this announcement couldn't have happened at the worst time in my life. Hold on, let me show you what we're working on here. Cooper's gonna bark. Cooper's gonna... Like, hold on. I'm just gonna make sure I'm not gonna dox myself. Let me move some stuff. Like, you guys are sitting on this water bottle. You guys are sitting on this water bottle and I can't hear anything. I can't hear anything. Sound off in the chat if you can hear Majula. This says... We're gonna talk about... I'm gonna call this the wrong name. I'm gonna call it Duskborn. I'm gonna call it... Is it Duskbloods? What is it called? I'm gonna call it a lot of things that are probably not the right name, and I'm so sorry. Context. Just got off of a 10-hour shift. Our commute both ways. 12 hours. I wake up at 4 in the morning to do it all again. So I'm so not here right now. But I do want to talk about my impressions regarding the trailer, and I want to rewatch it with you guys. So that way we can break it down together and we can talk about the things. The sound of all that's missing is the sound of a lawnmower in the background. I know. So I have my notes. I have my notes on my phone. I'm gonna get Cooper to put in my lap pretty soon, but let me see if I even have this like set up correctly. Your sound could be boosted a little bit. Okay. Test. Hold on. Let me fix really quick. You're back, you're home. Kind of. We're doing the best we can. I actually don't know if I could turn this around. Turn this around. Okay. Testing. The music is too loud. Dude! Dank Majula is way too loud. Okay. Testing. I have to, like, get right here. Dude. Nothing is set up. Nothing is set up! I don't have headphones. Nothing is set up. This is my Duskblood breakdown. Let's go. We're gonna do it. I also want to talk about the interview. Yeah, I have to eat the microphone. We're gonna talk about the interview because an interview just came out on Nintendo's website regarding Miyazaki and what he plans on doing with this game. It is a multiplayer game very similar to Night Rain in some capacity. It's not like a battle royale Fortnite, but it is focused on multiplayer. It's like it is intended to be a multiplayer game. He also prefaced in the interview that he didn't want people to feel discouraged and that they were going to continue to prioritize single player experiences, but that there is lore in this game and there is a lot to be had for people that just like PvE situations. So I am super optimistic about that. I do trust Miyazaki when he says that they're not giving up on single player experiences, but this game is more appealing to me than Night Rain, and I'm going to talk about why. I'm going to be playing both, but I do think that some of the systems are reiterated versions of Demon Souls system, and I'm going to talk about it specifically, the player tendency and like character tendency, and how some of the roles that you play when you enter a multiplayer session are really similar to, for example, the Monumentals questline and Mephistopheles' questline. It kind of rings some bells regarding that, so we'll talk about it when we get there. But let's go ahead and rewatch the trailer together, and I'm gonna pause it and react to certain things. So, let's do that. Hold up. Well, all right. So I'm gonna pause periodically. Let me know how the volume's. I might need to turn it down a little bit. This is also gonna be like slightly out of frame because we're really just like fucking raw dogging this right now. I'm so sorry. Sounds like a lot of the lore is going to come through upgrade paths. Yes, which I'm going to talk about in this as well. I was going to say it gave Demon Souls energy in the aesthetics. I couldn't tell you what exactly, but it has the sauce. I agree. I agree. We're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about it. And I'm ready. I'm actually pretty hyped for this one. I feel pretty lukewarm about Night Rain. I'm still, like I said, I'm still going to play it, but this game I actually am very optimistic about. I also can't hear.
I give you my blood. I give you my life. Turn, O wheel, and transport him to a night of moonlight, to humanity's very dusk.
Okay, so I'm gonna pause this here because I have my first initial thoughts, and some of it is very tinfoil hat-y, so please, 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 please bear with me. But I'm gonna recap some of the things that Miyazaki said during his Nintendo interview. He said, in the Duskbloods, the Bloodsworn are competing for something known as the First Blood. As human society reaches an end, the First Blood flows in an event called the Twilight of Humanity. The Bloodsworn are summoned to the Twilight of Humanity across a variety of different timelines and places in a bid to obtain the First Blood. And this whole thing centered around blood and how we receive the blood of this woman in order to achieve, like, or get these supernatural powers that we see these characters have. We also get this, like, mark that allows us to become the Duskblood, or I guess the Bloodsworn. The Duskbloods is about the Bloodsworn. There's a lot of different terms going on. There's also, like, we see Twilight and Dusk coming up in the interview and also in the cinematic. And we know in Miyazaki's, like, visual language and some of his, like, narrative motifs, Dusk and Twilight usually come about at the end of, like, an age or an era, or it usually means, like, the death of an age, or, like, it's associated in Elden Ring with the Gloam-Eyed Queen or the Dusk-Eyed Queen, who's, like, the death of the gods or, like, the death of an era. And so I think the name Duskblood, when you kind of, like, break it apart, like the title, Dusk is like the very tail end of Twilight. It's like the very tail end of, like, the end of the day. So you have dusk And so I think that as Duskbloods, we are kind of like ending the cycle. We're breaking the cycle, or we're ending an event during like a certain point of history. And he emphasizes like that these events are happening at various points throughout history. So we get to kind of like time jump. We're doing like weird interdimensional vampire hunting effectively. So I'm super curious about this. Like, are we going to different events in history and ending an era, or are we like what at these points of human history are causing like first blood events or these like twilight events? And so I'm sure that that's the twilight of humanity. Like, I'm sure that that's part of the mystery that we're going to uncover is why at these points in history the twilight of humanity is happening, or why we need to achieve first blood at these like points. I also feel that somebody in the chat just said it. I definitely feel like the wheel spoke like imagery that we see on this person's hand. Obviously, we've seen this wheel, or we've seen wheels like multiple times in Miyazaki's work. Usually it's like the cycle of suffering, or the fact that the game is cyclical, the fact that you like replay the game over and over and over again, the fact that there is a game loop that you're experiencing every time you enter New Game Plus and you're repeating events over and over and over again. But I do think, to your point, I want to see who said this. Alaknit and somebody else said, I think pop.com, and a couple people are alluding to it. I couldn't tell when I was zooming in on this image. At first I thought that like each individual spoke, like the end of the spoke was like a tower or like a different building, because this one kind of on the upper left corner almost looks like a little three-pronged castle. But it's also difficult to say if that's just like a byproduct of this being like almost like a sigilism. It has like that rough kind of gritty aesthetic that it's probably not actually locations or buildings, but it does kind of like draw that visual parallel between a central hub and like 12 different levels, or maybe like multiple different stages. And so I'm kind of thinking that maybe because Miyazaki confirmed that we have a central hub that we go to, I'm kind of visualizing it a little bit like the Nexus in Demon Souls, where there's like a central hub and then there's like all these different archstones that are like the different levels that we go to. But I don't know if that is what this is alluding to. That is like kind of my like I'm digging way too deep and I'm reading way too into it theory, but it's kind of an interesting visual concept considering we're like jumping between time periods and we're jumping between locations, and it seems like we're jumping from anywhere from the Gothic period, Miyazaki said, to the early modern period, which would be in like the late 1800s. So we have a pretty huge breadth of time that we're traveling. And I think also too something that's really fascinating about this is that like Bloodborne also had this window of time too. It was like the Gothic period, so we had a lot of like Gothic horror that was being referenced, like werewolves and Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde and like medical horror. But then we also have all of this cosmic horror that came later in American history, especially with the DLC and a lot of the Eldritch Lovecraftian stuff that we got to experience in Bloodborne. In this game in particular, I don't know if we're going to be getting cosmic horror in the way that we're used to with the Lovecraftian skin, but I do think we're going to be getting biblical horror. So, like in Bloodborne, we had biblical horror, but it fed into like the alien cosmic horror. In this one, it seems like maybe the cosmic entities do have a more Catholic aesthetic, or like a. Do you know what I mean? The stone face. Yeah, the stone face that appears in the air. Also, hi, Halmarat. How you doing? Yeah, biblical horror. So I think we might be getting like mainly biblical horror, and if there's any kind of cosmic horror tied to it, it's going to probably appear more like yeah, the horror of the Industrial Revolution. Yes, yes, yes. Yeah, so I'm super excited because that kind of aesthetic has been something that I've been curious to see if FromSoft would go down. But like it's obvious that the blood sacrament that happens in Bloodborne was very Catholic. The aesthetics are very Catholic. You fight a lot of clergy members, you fight in cathedrals, so they don't shy away from Catholic imagery. They also used a lot of Catholic imagery in Elden Ring as well. But it seems like this is specifically utilizing the aesthetics of angels, which is like super cool. So I'm gonna keep playing this trailer. But something to be noted is that our player character in this like opening cinematic seems like he is dead in typical like Soulsborne fashion. Our character usually is like deceased and then we get revived or brought back to life by some kind of force within the universe or some particular person. It seems like this woman she says she's given her life for us and that she's also giving us her blood. And then in Miyazaki, like he said in the interview, it's this blood that we receive from her that gives us these supernatural powers. And that kind of like blood communion, the blood sacrament, fully resonates with all the like Catholic biblical horror imagery that's going on here. Also, let me go get Cooper really quick. Okay. Okay. Does he have a wine bottle in his left hand? Let me see. It looks like he might. It looks like he's holding on to something, but I can't tell what. I can't tell what. What are we at? What are we at playback wise? It's Monsieur Coop. Yeah, it looks kind of reflective. I don't know. I don't know. What do you guys think? What do y'all think? Coop does not approve of the blood sacrament. Oh wait, my camera's in the way. Hold on. Hold on, y'all. This thing right here. Wait. Boop, boop, boop. This thing. Dude, he's not dead, he's just sloshed. LOL. Holding a Switch too. I do look like that when I get drunk, so it's probably a wine bottle. I mean, yeah. So maybe he's not dead. Maybe this isn't typical Soulsborne fashion. Maybe this is just maybe he's just sloshed. Maybe he's just sloshed. I don't know. Okay. Hold on. We're sorry for that. There are bottles all around the room. Damn, we really got an alcoholic, huh? Okay. Nothing really too much to see here. This looks so much like Yarnum though. It's kind of bonkers. But this is where it starts to diverge from Bloodborne quite a bit because we're getting into like the early modern period and there's also a lot of like steam engines and you know, like Miyazaki said in his interview, like early modern. Also, sorry, I'm the camera. Okay. So here we have an image. I actually haven't looked at this um stained glass closely yet. This is my first attempt to kind of like get in there. So it looks like there are four people and they're all gazing up, and it looks like maybe this person in the center is offering something up to the moon. Is this a blood moon? Also looks like a very modern train instead of a steam engine one. Yes. Red moon up top. I wonder, it's kind of difficult to see what the person is holding in their hand. Offering a goblet. Yeah. Sorry, my water bottle is officially failing now. Happened. Okay. Here we go. Sacrificial bowl? Okay, wait, hold on. We're gonna zoom, we're gonna enhance really quick. Oh, interesting. Okay, so it kind of looks like he's holding a goblet and there's a red stream coming from this center. So it kind of almost looks like maybe we get the blood from the moon, which is very bloodborne. But there's definitely like a chalice, um, like at the altar, kind of like a baptismal chalice. So that's pretty interesting. A grail, yeah. He's trying to get reception. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Thanks, moon. Very cool. Yeah, if I got a red liquid from the moon, I would consume. I would partake. Are those wings or mountains? It's difficult to tell, but they kind of look like wings. Or maybe they're mountains. I don't know. That's a good question. That's a really good question. Are they all wearing the same clothes as the woman in red? It's hard to tell. It's hard to tell. Hold on, let me see the sleeves. I mean, maybe the central figure could potentially. Hold on. And we see the moon in the background in this shot too. I can't tell. So see on the left-hand side of the frame, is that her shoulder?
Turn.
Or what is this? Is this her hair? Is she looks like she's kind of like laying on her side and reaching out to us, and her head is kind of like on us right now. Oh wait, sorry.
Oh.
This might be too big for y'all to see. I'm sorry that I'm like fucking up all my camera shit right now. So, see on the left-hand side, over this way, kind of looks like she's laying on us. Yeah, you can see her ear above the hair. Yeah, 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 right here. I see it, I see it, I see it. Okay. So
A
this
wheel.
outfit looks more like a dress. Like this garment that she's wearing. This doesn't really look like the garment that we're
And
seeing
transport him.
in the stained glass window. But it's still red. So maybe the clergy members are the people that collect the blood from the moon. Maybe they just wear red. Okay, so let's continue. There's our drunk boy. Let's see if we can find. Okay, this segment too, also for like in typical FromSoft fashion, what they like to do is they like to do a segment of player character and player character abilities, and then they'll do a segment of enemies. So this segment from here on out is just going to be showcasing all of the different characters and character abilities. So this is our first boy. This is our drunkard. I don't know which we name him. Astarion? Tommy gun. Yeah, it's the Tommy gun boy. Maybe the two of them died together. Maybe. John Duskblood. Okay, well, John Duskblood, he's like the poster child. His name should be Tommy Gun. Yes, Dario. Okay, so, and then we have this kind of like old man with glasses. I don't know if he's the same as the mummy. I don't think he is. The mummy is like straight up yellow. But we have this old man with glasses, so I'm assuming because we're going to be seeing player characters back to back to back to back, I'm assuming that this is, like I said before, a showcase. Very Mirai, yeah, Malay Mirai, like the nobility robes of Baldy Duskblood. Yeah. So we have like an aristocrat, we have like what looks like a straight up like blade bounty hunter, like full leather. This is also this person's like behind silhouette that they keep showing off. Got me acting crazy. The screenshot that they showed on the website. It's Kate Beckinsale, but a guy. It's true. It's Underworld. It's the Underworld Vampire Slayer. They keep showing their leather ass. It's true. It's true. Tom Hiddleston. Yeah. And then we have this like wonderful looking assassin woman. I kind of love her vibe. She's very pretty. I love this. He's like a Asura. He's like straight up like a Japanese demon and he's meditating, but he's definitely I kept keeping my eyes out for any kind of like Eastern architecture or sculptures, but it definitely seems like it's mostly in the West so far, but that there are people from the East in this location, very similar to Elden Ring. But I'm so curious about these people that seem to be in different locations. Also, somebody said traditional Vietnamese clothing. Wow, okay, that's awesome. That's awesome. So we have, and like the architecture in the background still looks very European. These look very European. This is very like Constantine era sculptures where the eyes are big and they're looking up. They're always looking up, you know. I bet we'll get an Eastern coded location. I know. I mean, considering we're being pretty much like isekai'd from all around the world and thrown into different timelines and different locations, it wouldn't surprise me if we get like such varied maps. That's one of the strong points of Demon Souls, I feel, is that um, in Demon Souls, they didn't have to worry about making the map interconnected, so they could get real freaky with all of the different enemy types and maps and make them feel very distinct. In Dark Souls and in Elden Ring, they do a really good job making things very distinct, but you can still, you know. Oh, wait, oh, I think Quaylog is streaming on Twitch. I don't know if she sees any of these messages. Yeah, don't worry, I see everything. I see everything. There's just a lot. Okay, so here we have a really interesting class, which is the Jetpack Man. He's really good. I'm curious about his kit. I love this Victorian schoolboy with every fiber of my being. I am going to main this boy, I'm afraid. This is my persona. This is my sickly Victorian child moment. He's perfect. He's perfect. Or she. She or he, I don't care. All hearing. And then yeah, somebody said Yoko Taro. So this is the entity I was talking about, and Miyazaki said in an interview that when this entity is present, that like there's a random chance that he will show up in your game, this big angelic creature. And when he shows up in your game, I believe, hold on, can somebody post, somebody know what happens off the top of their head? That was one of the details that like, let's see. Born. Blood symbolizes one of the game's key themes, the history it holds, the power it passes on, the fate it weaves, and the marker of those who have surpassed the limitation of their own humanity. Um, he said it changes the objectives of the world in the game. Doesn't it also like make things more difficult? That was one of the things I remember skimming over. Okay, wait. In the trailer, you may have noticed a giant stone face looming in the sky. This is one example of the events that can occur in a match. In this case, the appearance of the stone face affects the environment and changes match rewards, which can have immediate impact on player motivations and objectives. So he was talking about the multiplayer experience for this game. Typically, it's going to be like a PvP, or sorry, PvE experience for the most part, but that your player character goals might be to be the last one standing or to kill another player. And then another player's goal could be to protect a certain player. So there's kind of like a push and pull going on. And I kind of wonder if you get agency over which path that you're choosing. Because like I said before, this does feel a lot like Demon Souls and the way that player tendency worked. And also Dark Souls 1 with the Covenant system, where you get to choose whether or not you want to focus on killing players or helping players, and then you get rewards based off of accomplishing your task. So, like if you were a Moonlight Blade, um, you could like protect players. So, the objectives are, yeah, I think they said that you can assign roles. Okay, cool. So you get to have more agency over what you're doing. But I imagine something else he said was that depending on how you build out your character and the roles that you take on, it might influence your character's story. So I could definitely see it being a situation where in order to get the lore for your character, because you get lore for your character every time you upgrade them. If you upgrade them down a path that is focused on cooperation and PvE scenarios and stuff like that, that maybe you might get lore or gameplay or build like elements that are limited to that style of player. And the way that they did this in Demon Souls or in Dark Souls is that you would get specific equipment rewards depending on which covenant you dedicated yourself to, or in Demon Souls in particular, you've you fulfilled the quest of either the Monumental or Mephistopheles, and you would get like a special ring, like a friendship ring or whatever, depending on who you sided with and what your player tendency looked like. So I'm super curious about this because as somebody who's motivated by story, like my intrinsic motivation comes from lore and comes from narrative design and comes from art design. So the fact that a lot of this stuff is gated behind building your character out and bolstering your character out, it's going to motivate me to play in different styles that maybe I wouldn't normally play, especially with my limited time window. I've shied away from PvP as I've gotten older and have had to focus on work. But I think that if there's lore that's locked behind some of the PvP stuff, similar to how there was lore locked behind, like, if you wanted to get all of the lore in Dark Souls 1, you needed to grind out covenants to collect the items that had crucial pieces of lore. So I'm like, kind of. Oh, wait, what's happening? Shore is rated by piracy. Nintendo releasing this game for a Switch exclusive. Your punishment is piracy. Yeah, so I'm like super excited to see just how the gameplay loop feeds into unlocking narrative. I feel yeah, this has the potential to create some strong ludonarrative harmony. That's what I'm saying, Elizabeth. Like, as somebody that loved the Covenant systems, as somebody that loved player tendency systems, as somebody that feels that the Soulsborne games at their heart are supposed to be, and this is no shade to challenge runners or speed runners or people that prefer to play these games solo for a challenge. I have always felt that these games at their heart have been community-oriented games, and I'm really glad that in this particular instance, it seems like they're focusing on it in a way that feels really familiar to me. Demon Souls is my favorite Soulsborne game, but I recognize it's not everybody's favorite, and I know that he's making like PvE stuff available for people that prefer that. But yeah, I am very excited for this game. I don't feel the same way about Night Rain, even though I'm gonna play it, because I don't feel that Night Rain is feeding me lore or reinforcing me story by upgrading my character or by playing a certain way. It's just one play style. Like there's different characters that you get to pick with different play styles, but the game loop objective is like the same. Like you're just trying to become the Night Lord, right? You're just trying to like finish a task. And it's like that Fortnite style giant map that shrinks. So there's kind of this like time limit, and there's not really the time or the space to meander or wander around. I'm hoping that these multiplayer games don't have time limits. I'm really hoping that these in this game that there's not time limits in Duskblood. I hope that I can just kind of freely meander around with somebody else. Um, but yeah, I'm not being a doomer about I don't want to be a doomer about Night Rain or this game in particular. I can just tell when something is not for me. And as much as I love Night Rain, I'm gonna play it because I want to see who the Night Lord is, and like I want to uncover the mystery and like see if we get any content to wrap up any threads from the base Elden Ring game. I don't think it's gonna scratch the same itch that I have for community style games as this one is. So that being said, let me press pause. Okay, so this character is really interesting. He is just a straight up skeleton. We see a picture of him later. I can't really tell if he has a ceremony mask on that's like breaking. Kind of looks like he does. Or like he has a death mask, but his arm, his legs are straight up like bones. Like he has a visible pelvis. But this is going to be a really interesting player character. And his pose in front of another one of these murals, it looks like this person, or sorry, stained glass. This person looks like they're praying up, and we're also seeing that blood dripping down and forming a halo around their head. I kind of love that imagery. I love this idea of like spiritual enlightenment that's being bestowed upon you through this like sacramental blood. So it's really cool seeing him in this area. Okay, and then here we get to see what maybe a map of one of the matches would look like. So this is kind of how big it is. This also has increased movement speed and jumping, similar to Night Rain. So I think that just the overall speed at which you move around is going to be similar. But once again, I'm hoping that maybe we won't have that time limit that's imposed upon us that Night Rain has, because I hate it. I hate it so much. I hate not being able to meander and certain things. I'm hoping we have more luxury with that. Oh, he's like one of those gold embossed Catholic martyr corpse things. Yeah, he could be. It's John Duskblood again, yeah. We have an elevator. I love this thing. This guy. He's fucking awful. He has like multiple rows of human teeth too. Just cracked design. He reminds me a lot of a basilisk. This area intrigues me because there's not much to see here. This is it. This is it. This is all they show us of this particular area, and I don't know why they're wanting to show us this. It doesn't really feel like it's showcasing much else outside of just like a wall. Like, what is this? Is it like, is that going to be evidence that maybe there's going to be some kind of celestial, like deep eldritchy, like, what is this? Also, hold on one sec, let me get. Maybe some egg thing? I know, right? The color of the lighting is such a big contrast to the rest of the setting too. Yeah, it's giving, this is giving Bloodborne, this particular color palette, because we haven't seen much of that. And then in here, we're in another cathedral or like church type setting. It really reminds me of the hospital and the DLC of Bloodborne. I think just like the robes, but it looks like this player summoned some kind of help, and it looks like they're approaching a character that's like really far off down the road. But you can see on either side of this like altar or wherever we are, there are two priests that are almost doing like the as above hands sign. And then they're holding possibly a goblet or something, and then they're blindfolded. So we have that blindfolded religious imagery again, which we see in like every single FromSoft game. Also, hey!
Close your eyes and contemplate now the
I also love this character's aesthetic on the left. Very pretty.
as befits the soon to depart.
Little rose window.
I pray that you are able.
This character. I know all the girlies in the chat are gonna go wild for this man. We don't know who this is, but I know all the girlies in the chat are gonna go wild for this man. I know you guys. I know you guys. Everybody's in love with this wolf.
Carrier of blood.
And so we have John Duskblood fighting kind of like some kind of guts cleric beast 2.0, but it also looks like he has a medallion. I noticed this earlier. He has some kind of weird medallion that's like gold around his neck. I'm sure we'll get some pretty cool lore about this man at some point. He has multiple eyes though, which is really cool. And they go down his shoulders and his arms. This design is really cool. I can't tell if this is like a headless horse. There's like a take on the headless horseman, or if there's like a different kind of head there. It moves so fast. And I've tried to get like stills of it, but it's kind of hard to see but it looks like oh, wait, John Dust blood is now canonized in my brain. Yeah, the Manus Cleric Beast Arm Cape is a choice. Yeah, this shot fascinated me. That street is super clean. Yeah, it looks like a very lived in. This looks like it's more the early modernist era. It looks so clean and crispy. All right, and then we have the dinosaur. If you guys follow me on Twitter, y'all saw me complaining about this dinosaur design because there was a period in Victorian history that is like one of my favorites that had people that would find random dinosaur fossils and then find other remains and just kind of stick them together and hope that that's what the skeleton actually looked like. And the dinosaurs, the results were like really fucking stupid looking. And so early dinosaurs were thought to look really dumb and not accurate. And they were called the Crystal Palace dinosaurs. Please look them up. Please look them up. They're really important. That's how they made the fossil Pokemon in Sword and Shield. Yeah. So, the fact that this T-Rex looks very like this is the modern T-Rex. This is the Jurassic Park T-Rex. I'm kind of like, oh, they really missed a good opportunity to do some dumb shit. They missed the opportunity to make some really disgusting Victorian designs, but the fact that we get dinosaurs in this is really exciting in kind of place of the dragon incantations because I feel like this matches this academia aesthetic that a lot of Victorians had because they kind of held themselves to high esteem where they wanted to be like adventurers and discoverers and they would like create these fake ruins. I don't know, like there's so much that works with dinosaurs being in this game as like a I don't know. I just kind of love this aesthetically. I'm all about dino. I'm all here for the dino. This man, I don't know what his deal is, but he looks like he is I mean like he looks like he was gonna be hung and that he was jailed. And now it looks like he's singing, so I don't know. I don't know what his story is. It's a mystery. We get to see our beautiful ladies, potentially Vietnamese ladies moveset, which is really beautiful and exciting. I love her so much. I might fix her, but this okay. So this is my Victorian sickly baby character. Looks like there's a lot of magic.
The moon tears will flow for one.
Okay, and then this character. Why?
And one.
Do I feel like I have seen this man? First off, I don't know why this man, Mikolash 2, yeah. I feel like there is a historic figure. I feel it. Okay, Church, you feel the same way. He's making the make contact pose. There's something about this guy that kills me because I want to say that there was like a historic figure or a character in a video game or something who had this like particular aesthetic and it is killing me. It's killing me. Pajama John. Pajama John is killing me. Like, I'm sure I'm gonna make a video about him at some point. No, it's not Griffith. It's not Griffith that it reminds me of. He reminds me of, like, there's a really famous, like, knight or, I don't know why. I don't know why. There's just something about this man that I feel like, really struck a chord with me. But his neck brace. So there's this kind of weird sigilism that is showing up periodically. Obviously, we have our wheel on our hand, but he's showing his hand to us and he has a scar on his hand, but it doesn't look fully like the wheel. So there's something going on with the hand. There always is in Miyazaki games. Like the hand is usually the symbol of ambition or like grasping, but it kind of seems like the hand is what we have our wheel on. And so I don't know. Hey, Robbie. I could see the Ultraman too. It's not Ultraman. It's giving old King a lot. But he's super curious. But this weird sigilism that's kind of like around his neck is really on par with like the weird moon symbol that we get. But then there's like the sky behind the moon. Hold on, let me show if I can find it. Mm, the sky behind the moon that has all these weird like thorns, weird circular thorns around it. I don't know. I don't know. Iron Mask vibes to this guy. Maybe the pajamas are prison clothes. Maybe. Maybe. I don't know. I'm getting not that these are pajamas necessarily, but maybe like soldier under armor or like something that is typically worn underneath a tabard or like underneath. Yeah. Yeah. Old fencing attire. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's what I'm thinking. Like it doesn't strike me as pajamas, y'all. Arming doublet. Yes, yes. Fencing gear, undergarments. The moon had a scar too, I think, on its forehead. It has a weird, like, divot on its forehead. I don't know. It has kind of like a weird nose, and then there's these things. I don't know. The design is just so strange, but in like the best way. Okay. Duskbloods. Okay, and then this character, Miyazaki elaborated on him, and I actually have a lot to say about this particular guy. So, this is a rat that has what looks like angel wings or like dove wings. I mean, it's whatever, it doesn't matter. But he has sigils all over him. I'm assuming that the sigils are really similar to the sigils that are in the Nexus, where they're acting as something that like binds. So like I talked about the Lesser Key of Solomon a long time ago in regard to the design of demon souls. Let me see if I could pull up a picture. Um, don't look at the brain rot though. So Demon Souls has the Nexus like has this big ancient seal that is on the base of it. I don't know if y'all can see this. Um and the old one is sealed away underneath all of these seals. And somebody, I believe on Reddit like a long ass time ago, found that some of the sigils actually have alchemical sigils inside of them, but the Lesser Key of Solomon utilizes alchemy. TLDR of all of this shit is that these kinds of sigils are used to seal away spirits utilizing metal, and utilizing like alchemy. So I'm pretty sure that what we're looking at is like an entity or a creature that's been like sealed or trapped, but he's actually going to be our maiden. In the interview, he said that he's going to be our like kindling maiden effectively. He's going to be the character that upgrades us or levels us up. And he's actually like an old man. So they wanted to go with a more cutesy aesthetic for the person that levels us up. I'm going to assume that it's because of the popularity of the Turtle Pope. I'm going to assume. But it would also be really interesting if this character ends up being significant in some way because he seems to be sealed or trapped, and that he's helping us because he's trapped, or I'm curious to see what that relationship is going to look like. But I love this rat. I'm in love with him. I hope they make a figure or like a statue out of him. I definitely would get him. But he doesn't have any speaking lines. He just kind of gazes. I don't know. What a good trailer. What a good trailer. But yeah, so I want to talk a little bit about the match variables because we touched on it earlier, but I want to read word for word what Miyazaki said about it because it is a little bit complicated, but it seems really interesting. So Miyazaki said, let's see, let me see where to start. Can you provide more detail on the general gameplay loop? The game has a so-called hub area where players can choose their character, customize them, and enter them into online multiplayer. I'm assuming that this is where the rat is going to be located. Online multiplayer supports up to 8 players. Upon concluding an online match, players then return to the hub, at which point they receive some sort of reward, whether they win or lose. Using the rewards, the players can further customize their character, and so the cycle continues. Online matches are generally last player standing, however, there are certain cases where victory conditions differ. For example, players may be tasked with teaming up to take down a powerful boss enemy, or find themselves in other special conditions. And then the interviewer asks, so victory conditions are influenced not just by PvP, but PvE as well? And he says, that's right. Some victory conditions center around defeating a boss enemy. So for PvP, an acronym... Oh, wait, never mind. That's just like editor notes. I can't think of any examples with that rule set. It sounds very interesting. And he says, I'm happy to hear you say that. Regardless of whether it's PvP or PvE, the idea is to provide players with an experience that allows them to learn and hone their skills as they play. We've therefore designed PvE boss encounters to present a tough challenge and a sense of accomplishment upon defeating them. And he talked about... Oh, here we go. So players can also enjoy improving their own skills over time as they battle. Yes, although there are a variety of elements in place that keep the game from becoming too stoic. For example, how players conduct themselves during the match is just as important as direct combat. The Duskbloods implements victory points, which are responsible for ultimately deciding the outcome of a match. To obtain victory points, direct combat is of course important, but it's not the only way. Some players may prefer to earn points by avoiding direct combat and instead engaging in more opportunistic behavior. How you earn points is entirely up to you. Additionally, each character can summon an entity to assist them in combat, giving players a high degree of freedom when it comes to how they fight and win. So there's like summons in this game, and your summons could potentially PvP, or like fight. The NPCs can fight each other, potentially, maybe. Another important aspect is match variables, such as the event system. This system has the potential to alter the course of the match, such as special enemy spawns and additional objectives with accompanying bonus rewards. In the trailer, you may have noticed a giant stone face looming in the sky. We talked about that. But yeah, that was my intention. I'm personally not much of a PvP person. I wanted to make something that's satisfying for even players like me. I think that's mainly most of it. But yeah, I'm super excited to see how, because I'm definitely like a PvE co-op person. So I'm curious to see how I get into it if there's like huge PvP elements at all. So I love this concept so much, even though I probably won't end up playing the game. Yeah, we'll see. I mean, we'll see if I can even afford a Switch 2 when it finally comes out. They're delaying the launches and like pre-orders for the Switch 2 stuff. Are you heading out? Okay. Victory points were approaching board game territory. He actually talked about that and how he was saying that this game was very tabletop inspired. He also brought up the themes of being blood, history, and fate. I wonder what that means, and the romanticized aspects of vampires. Yeah, I think that is going to have a lot to do with why. So, like we said, that we're time traveling to different points in history, and there seems to be First Blood, Twilight events at each point in history, and it seems like we're trying to uncover the mystery of why these events are happening at this point in history, and I kind of wonder what that has to do with the moon and the blood sacrament and everything else. So I'm like so curious. I'm so curious. Live coop setting, yeah. But yeah, that being said, I have to wake up at 4 in the morning and it's 8 p.m. so I'm already like 20 minutes past my bedtime. So even though this was a really short stream and I just like verbally dumped a lot at you, I need to head out. I'm so sorry, y'all. I'm so sorry, y'all. I'm gonna try to make a condensed video of this conversation where I just kind of like go over everything and speculate and hypothesize, but I don't know when it's gonna come out. If it's gonna come out, it is just, it is so, life has been so chaotic, y'all. Life has been so chaotic, so I don't know. Why so early? I work. I work. My job is in my job is in a thing that, yeah, this year has been, yeah. Anyway, I feel like the past 2 years have been just fucking rough, but we're out here. Your take was so refreshing to hear. I'm glad, Calix. I'm excited. I don't know. I know that a lot of people want their single player experiences, but like Soulsborne games have never been single player experiences for me. And Demon Souls in particular. If this game is anything like Demon Souls with the player tendency, I'm all about it. I also love, something I forgot to mention. There's going to be upwards of a dozen characters starting, which is like, I'm so interested as to why they decided to do Night Rain. Like if maybe they were contractually obligated to do it, because Night Rain is also only starting with 8 characters. So I'm like really fascinated that they have these two. They're not same in terms of like the game loop, but they're same in terms of the fact that you have preset characters with kits. I'm just very curious as to why. Yeah. Excuse me? Hello? A dozen? Yeah. Dude by the kitchen now. But yeah, okay. So, and then each of the characters, by the way, so each dozen preset characters has ways that you can like fine tune them and even customize them. So, I don't even know. It just seems really deep and really interesting. So, this year has been exhausting and it doesn't feel like things are going to get better. Yeah. Yeah. Poor cowboy. I'd love to see it. I'd love to see a little Wild West level. That would be fun. But yeah. All right, y'all. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm gonna head out. Have a good night, everybody. I'm gonna try to be back soon, but I don't know. I haven't even beaten Monster Hunter low rank right now. That's where I'm at. I've been struggling. But yeah, have a good night, y'all.